And the reason it's only me and Robbie is because Derek couldn't show up.
Derek has to work.
He was trafficking children.
And, I mean, that's his job.
That is his job. What's up, everybody? This is Zach.
And Robbie.
With the Nerd Cave Network. Our top 5 this week is Star Wars books. And the reason it's only me and Robbie is because Derek couldn't show up.
Derek has to work.
He was trafficking children.
And, I mean, that's his job.
That is his job.
I'm just kidding, though.
Children
He had some baseball games.
across the border.
He had to do some baseball games today, so he wasn't able to join it. And me and Zach have read extensively Star Wars books, so we figured,
Why not?
something. Yeah,
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not your number 5, Robbie?
My number 5 is my passcode goes.
It's called Passcode.
Choices of One, because it gave you such a more in-depth look. I don't think you've read it, have you?
I haven't. I've started it, but I have not finished it.
It gives you such a more of an in-depth look at
with Mara Jade and the Hand of Judgment, right?
And anything with the Hand of Judgment with Laron and all of them, I love. I mean, you'll see that later on.
Yeah, I can assume. I already know one, like just from that comment. But go ahead.
It was just so great being able to expand your knowledge on a future wife of a certain Jedi.
Luke Skywalker.
I guess that's not really ruining.
No,
anything.
it's not, because now it's in the Legends category. So
yeah, but
there you go.
I mean, it was good, great book, loved it, and I love Mara Jade and the Hand of Judgment at their characters.
Oh yeah, they're great characters. Timothy Zahn is one of the best writers out there.
I hugged him.
I had an interview with him, which was really awesome. Great guy, but Timothy Zahn, one of the best Star Wars writers. Best writer.
Well, yeah. I love him.
My number 5 is the Bounty Hunter Trilogy by K.W.C. Jeter. This takes place in between, I think it's 4 and 5. I can't really remember. It's earlier in the Star Wars lore, and it focuses on Boba Fett. Boba Fett, throughout Star Wars, has had varied, histories of where he came from and everything. Yeah. This dealt with him being a stormtrooper that deserted. Amazing book. Explains a lot of things. Slave One, there was a bounty hunter guild, Bosk, IG-88,
all these
tons of iconic five.
When you think of bounty hunters, you get to see them.
Just an awesome trilogy of books. And if you haven't read them, this is one that a lot of people, after you read it, they're like, why aren't they doing these?
Yeah.
Because
I mean, they're great stories. Like, I haven't read them all, but I've know the gist of it all.
Yeah.
But I mean, they are great. Could be great backstories for a movie,
especially for Boba Fett. Having this as a backstory in my mind just makes him even more an awesome character. Oh, yeah. More of a beast. Your number 4, Robbie.
It's the Old Republic series. You have Revan, Fatal Alliance, and
Deception or Deceived or something.
I think it's Deception. I love, Revan is one of my favorite characters, because I mean, not only did you get to play with him in Knights of the Old Republic and stuff like that, but just reading into these books and how he teamed up with this Sith and everything, because he's back on the good side and everything. Bastila's in it, It was
seeing what happened to that after KOTOR 1.
Yeah, was phenomenal. Being able to catch up.
Mandalore and it's just really, it's a really good book, and I remember reading it and I was just giddy the whole time because it was revisiting all of this, and the lore behind it.
Because you had so much time invested and you knew these characters inside and out. And you got to carry on with their stories further than just the game lets you.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the expanded universe, that after the original trilogy was released, and that was it for years, and the expanded universe with all these writers took the Star Wars universe and had people still engaged throughout until they started releasing the new movies, and they kept putting movies out.
Yeah.
I mean, books out. I'll get it eventually.
Somewhere down the road.
My number 4,
right.
Shadows of the Empire. This takes place between 5 and 6.
Yeah.
It actually even goes in depth with Luke rebuilding his lightsaber.
I have not read this one. I need to. It's in my backlog with thousands of other Star Wars books.
It's written by Steve Perry. It deals a lot with Prince Caesar. Yeah, he's the
Seizure.
Yeah, I used to call him Caesar because it's an X, but it's Caesar. He's a Falleen.
Thither me Tim.
He's a Falleen, and just you have not Kip Durin. God, what is his name? He's a pilot. He's in Shadows of the Empire game. I can't remember his name right now. But it just such a great story. Very well crafted. Bridges the gap between 5 and 6. Just awesome.
And I like those books that give you a little bit of an in-depth look at what happens between the movies and between what happens after games, like with the Old Republic books.
Yeah.
So those are always good.
What's really funny is 3 out of mine are written by an author that never wrote another Star Wars book. They wrote whatever they were set for, and then that was it. So, what is your next one? Number 3.
My number 3 is Allegiance with
Timothy Zahn.
Timothy Zahn, which he's you can look at all my books and all my downloaded books. It's either
a lot of Timothy Zahn.
Drew or Timothy.
Yeah.
But
this is your first introduction to the Hand of Judgment, and Mara Jade had been introduced before this, but this is a younger Mara Jade.
And what I loved about this one is you see these stormtroopers, but they're not like your typical stormtroopers. They do not like what they see because they were getting orders that they did not believe in because they pretty much
go killing a village of people for no reason.
For no reason.
Yeah.
And so that kind of messed up their stomach. And, one of them was planning on leaving, but it just kind of...
It escalated very quickly.
Very quickly. And so, they hijacked this ship that turns out to be very...
it's from the intelligence... galactic intelligence.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they're called, but it's chock full of...
The ISDP or something like that.
I don't remember. Chock full of credits, fake IDs for the ship, speeder bikes, armor,
weapons, all kinds of stuff. So they're able, and they go to these different cities, and they're doing good because they're seeing pirates and the corruption and everything, and they go and they fix it. They apply that little bit of pressure because they think they're tied in with the Empire, but they're really not.
Yeah, they're not, but they're actually helping the Empire. They don't want to overthrow the Empire. They want to improve it, but they're on the run because of what they've done and how Mara Jade ties into it, and
Han,
and Chewbacca.
Chewie, and all that. That was really cool. And you see that team up in other books later on. Yeah,
and it's just a really interesting book, how it all ties in. And Timothy Zahn is such a great weaver of a story.
Oh my God.
Just the tapestry that he is able to make out of the characters that he has created. Because he's created Mara Jade. He was the one that's credited for that. Coruscant as well. So Timothy Zahn is an amazing, amazing writer. If you haven't checked out any of his stuff, we'll be talking about more and more of his as we go on.
Yes.
My number 3 is The Paradise Snare by A.C. Crispin. This is the Han Solo trilogy. This book is one that I got a little bit later on while I was reading Star Wars, but it is such a fresh and interesting take on it. It's the tale of how Han Solo becomes Han Solo. He was raised by a Wookiee mother, so that's why he's very attached to Wookiees. He's Corellian, but it goes through this whole thing where he gets hired to be a pilot for this religious sect, and these I can't remember what they're called, but they have this the song that they sing or whatever, like the sect, and the spice, the song puts these people in a for lack of a better term,
a trance, or
yeah, that's a better word than I was about to say.
I was saying,
yeah. So they use their religious followers as slave labor, pretty much. And just an awesome book.
No wonder he doesn't like hokey religions.
Yeah, exactly. It does a very awesome job of taking what you know about Han Solo and makes him, into this person that you can believe, and gives him that backstory. And that's why I like this whole set. It shows how he gets the Millennium Falcon, how he finds Chewbacca, how he gets the debt with Jabba. So it's tons of stuff in these 3 books that everyone wants to know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely going to check them out because, like I said, I do have a pretty extensive backlog because, I mean, there's so many books in the Star Wars Extended Universe.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah. So, it's like you're always playing catch up.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I can't wait to read it because, I mean, from what I knew a little bit about it, but from what you just expounded upon.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. And before Chewbacca, he also had another hairy friend.
Harry Potter.
Not Harry Potter.
No.
But yeah, it's a really good book. You're number 2, sir. I mean, sorry. You're number 2, sir.
Numero duso. The Bane trilogy.
Oh, okay.
Drew Karpyshyn.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, you're close.
Yeah. Just Bane is just an amazing character. Like, I mean, I'm usually I like Jedis a lot, but you can't help but root for the bad guys every now and then. But he's just so powerful, so cool, so just elegant. I mean, everything about him's just awesome.
Yeah. It's a great way to see his story build from where he starts to where he ends up. So, I'm not going to give too much on that because it's later in my list.
But I like how it even ties into Revan. Like there's in the first
because
first book there's that little tiny
the holocron
that he finds.
We got in an argument about that one
time. And I remember driving down the road and I found the article and I screenshot it. I was like, aha! But if it turned out we were both half right and half wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just Bane's a great book.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure my number 2 is your number 1, and your number 1 is mine.
Yep. That's how it's going to be. My number 2 is the Throne Trilogy by Timothy Zahn. One of the finest pieces of literature that I've read, even if it's a Star Wars book. I know people are like, oh, well, that's a Star Wars book. It doesn't count. No. The character of Thrawn that he had crafted for this just made everything work. He didn't have to be a Jedi. He didn't have to be an evil Sith Lord. He was a military mind rivaled by no other.
He could just he studied art, and just by that little bit of art that he studied, he saw a ship and he sent out just a couple of TIE fighters just to see how they would react. And just how he turned his ship to attack, he knew exactly what race, what to do, how to beat them, and the battle was over before it even began.
Yeah, and just the way, like his way to get around shields, he would sneak 2 fighters in before they got their shields up and have them cloaked, and then he would shoot, turbo lasers from the Star Destroyer, and then to match it, they would shoot at the same time. And this also brought in the mad clone Jedi of George Seamoth. So, just the whole story that was crafted was amazing. Thrawn is definitely by far one of the best Star Wars characters ever. And
I'm not saying anything else.
Yeah, I hope that, down the road that he does become part of the actual cinematic universe, since, like we mentioned before, these are become legends and are no longer canon.
I pray that they do introduce him because he's such a great character.
Yeah, I would love to see Benedict Cumberbatch play.
That's exactly
Thrawn.
We have yet to discuss who we think would play as Thrawn, but I like that you said that because that's who I immediately think.
Yeah, he's got the mannerisms, everything from him playing Sherlock.
Just the way he looks. I have the illustrated comic book of all 3 of them together, and when you see Thrawn, it just the way Cumberbatch looks and Thrawn is just perfect.
Yeah, it just works with him. All right, number 1.
My numero uno is the Throne Trilogy. For everything that we just said, Thrawn's a great character, and just to see the clone Jedi Master that Luke goes to, and as he slowly realizes that this guy's crazy.
Yeah.
And the story, you know, Mara Jade also comes back.
First time seeing Mara Jade. First time mentioning of Coruscant as well.
Yeah. So you're seeing all these great characters introduced.
Jason and Janin Solo as well.
And I mean, the race of
starts with an N.
The Nagre.
Something like that.
I just listened. I listened to the audiobooks and I pronounced it the Nagres.
They were so cool.
Their culture in general is just so interesting.
Yeah, and the way he developed that, he made it. It was like a tribal group that, you know, they were bound by certain laws and certain ways that they had to present it, and you know how the Empire exploited them.
And Leia was just trying to tell them, hey, you know, we didn't know that you guys were in trouble. We would have helped you. What the Empire is giving you isn't help. Yeah. And they're like, but they're slowly, and then she proved it all, and just to see how
they shifted
to the daughter of Vader, because they call her Lady Vader. Yeah. Which is, you know, super awesome to tie in. I mean, just so many tie-ins that he does so well.
Oh yeah, and just seeing the relationship between Luke and Mara Jade develop throughout that whole book, because Mara Jade wants to kill Luke Skywalker. That's her only mission. Yeah. Her last mission is to kill Luke Skywalker.
And like throughout all these books that tie in with Mara Jade and Luke, you just see how she hates him, and you just see her slowly shift her views on him.
And, you know, Spectre of the Past and Visions of the Future, which is written by Timothy Zahn, also deal with Thrawn. So it goes into a little bit more of that. So these are awesome books that you can definitely check out.
All these books, I mean, if you don't want to purchase them, the hardback covers, sign up for Audible. Yep. They're all on Audible. I mean,
you get a free month.
Free month. They have great
We're not sponsored by them, but
we should be. Yeah. Netflix, Audible. But they have great narrators and everything like that. I mean, it's just...
I definitely have to say the Star Wars audiobooks are the best because they have sound effects, they have music.
There's nothing better than hearing
Mark Thompson, probably one of the best audiobook readers there is. He does the majority of it. My number one, Robbie mentioned it a little bit earlier, Darth Bane, the whole series... Path of Destruction, Dynasty of Evil,
Rule of Two.
Path of Destruction, Rule of Two, Dynasty of Evil.
Yeah, and the reason we say the trilogies or the series is they're all great, and we couldn't pick out.
If I had to pick one out of the Darth Bane, it would be Path of Destruction, just because of the training. The training for Darth Bane was so interesting, seeing how the Sith did it and how that. All of these things went into one, and see him rise and then fall, you know, really quick when he got there. And then
his friend that he made.
Yeah, starts with a G. I can't remember. Anyway.
Giffany,
yeah, and she had the lightsaber whip thing.
That was whenever I heard lightsaber whip, I was just like,
oh. And you're imagining
that. Like that's... When you read these Star Wars books, you gotta have the imagination to go with it, because that's my the best thing that I love to do is just picturing how these things look.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't even when we talked about the Hand of Judgment, I don't know what these guys look like, but I have a vision.
I have a visual image, you know, and it's different for everyone. But Path of Destruction is so cool to see. You know, he's a Cortosis minor, and he becomes the greatest Sith Lord. You know, that builds this dynasty that lasts all the way to Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader. Yeah. You know, it was a set plan. You know, there's a rule of two. You know, there should be a master and an apprentice, one to hold the power, one to crave it. You know, and that lasted for generations.
It did, but I understand why the other one probably would have worked better. Yeah, they would not have been as powerful, but there would have been more of them because... Like, that's the whole issue with the Sith.
Yeah.
Is they kill each other.
Well,
off
and
too much.
you saw that it was, something that every time there was more Sith, there was always more infighting than there was anything.
Yeah.
The thought bomb, everything.
Oh
it just,
my God.
Everything in the first one, it was just so well tied together. And then, of course, Xana as his apprentice. And then the final fight in Dynasty of Evil. That little hint. I'm not going to give it away, but you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what
that
you're
little
saying.
hint. It just, Now, I've got some honorable mentions. Do you have any?
Yeah. I'll
Okay.
let you go first.
I'll go first. Hard Contact by Karen Travis. She has written tons. She was written all of the Republic Commando books. Very good. Hard Contact's the first one. I really enjoyed it. The Jedi Academy. It's written by Kevin J. Anderson. He introduced the character Kip Duran and the Star Crusher, and had this whole idea of where the Death Star was manufactured in a maw, which is a bunch of black holes around each other just outside of Kessel.
Yeah.
But the Sun Crusher was a really interesting idea, that it was made out of material that you could literally go through a sun and destroy it. Or nebula. All of this thing. One time they literally drove right through the center of a Star Destroyer and split it in half. So it was really interesting reading about that. Darth Plagueis. One of the more recent books in the last 3 years.
That's the book I'm starting next.
Yeah.
So.
Just really, really interesting seeing, the Sith Lord that mentored Palpatine, and how he could control the midichlorians, because it goes into that.
Like how he would drain oh my God.
Yeah. So that was really cool to get to read. Death Troopers, really interesting because it was a different take on it. It was more of a horror genre, and the audiobook just does such a good job with the screams. More like, just really, really interesting.
That made it onto my honorable mention. I listen to audiobooks the most, when you're driving, but I listen to a lot of them when I'm sleeping. And this is one that I'm like, all right, I'll listen to it for 15 minutes. You do not know the horror when you're in that half asleep state,
pitch dark,
and nothing in your room, and all of a sudden you hear,
Well, I got one for that too. My roommate in college, he would come into our apartment and just yell for no reason. He sounded exactly like that. So anytime, I'd been reading it and he'd come in to do that, and I was just like, oh my God, I gotta go kill it. But to finish it out, Allegiance, you had mentioned that. And then Outbound Flight by Timothy Zahn, one of the better books, I think. It didn't make my top 5, but it was really interesting to see the original George Sabaoth, whatever, and how that all worked, and the first encounter with Grand Admiral. Well, he wasn't Grand Admiral Thrawn.
I think he was just Admiral.
He was Thrawn. He was with his own, the Chiss people and everything, and finding out how their whole military and political, parties worked.
Yeah.
Very interesting, and seeing how that all shaped the future of everything. So,
real quick, mine was, of course, Red Harvest. It ties along with Death Troopers and stuff like that. Such a great book because I love zombies, and that kind of what it basically is 4 zombies.
Yeah, because it's at a Sith Academy.
Yeah. The Obi-Wan book.
Oh, that was a good one.
Just because Obi-Wan's one of the great characters in the Star Wars universe, and to be able to, go deeper into his story and everything like that was great. And also, Scoundrels.
Yeah, Scoundrels was good by Timothy Zahn as well.
I had the signed copy that my dog chewed up.
Yeah. That's a good copy.
Yeah.
Gives good character.
Get a lot of character.
But guys, there's tons and tons of Star Wars books out there. Avoid Splinter of the Mind's Eye, though. I'm telling you right now, avoid that.
But other than that, check out the rest of them.
Yeah, the ones we listed before, in our list, in our honorable mentions, those are the ones you definitely should check out first.
Those are the best ones that we've came across so far.
Yeah, and we're always scouring and reading and everything. So what are your top 5 Star Wars books? And if you want more suggestions, just hit us up at the Nerd Cave Network at gmail.com or on Twitter, Twitch, Tumblr, Instagram, all of our Facebook, all of that, social media.
And me and him's both on Facebook and Twitter,
all the time.
Robert Rolls, Zach Dykes.
Yeah, Z Dykes.
I'm saying for Facebook references.
Yeah, it's all in the links below.
Yeah, you'll find us.
And what we have every week?
Monday. podcast. I'm just kidding. We do have a podcast with multiple different awesome things that come out throughout the week.
On Tuesdays, our main podcast, the
yes.
Kid Podcast.
Also, we have Mondays that come out. We do Let's Plays of all these different games that we do. Tuesday, you get a tiny bit of the podcast that actually comes out on Tuesday.
On iTunes and Stitcher.
On iTunes and Stitcher, yes. And also, what you're seeing now comes out on Thursdays. Every Thursday, we do a top 5 from anything to everything.
Yep. And if you have any suggestions for a top 5, put them in the comment, because we're always looking for something to discuss.
Oh yeah, we like talking.
Putting our top 5s and everything, which it's hard, but it's fun.
It is.
And on Sunday, this coming up Sunday, August 30th, you can watch our live podcast at 6:30 on YouTube. You can just go to this channel and find it.
Yeah.
And we'll be
super simple.
Yeah, we'll be discussing a lot of things. If you've got questions, make sure to ask them. This has been Zach
and Robbie.
Have a week.